In the past, I used to be someone who could not focus on anything for longer than 20 minutes. Like I used to zone out after 20 minutes or get severely agitated and I needed to do something else. And I remember this particular day, I was sitting in my maths class at the last row, and I remember just this math professor teaching me something, and I was just like a deer staring into the headlights. I was looking at him teach, but I was absorbing absolutely nothing. I was actually thinking about football or some other sport. That's how distracted I was. And since my attention span was so shitty, well, so were my grades. I pretty much barely passed, and I actually flunked a lot of the mock exams, failed physics, chemistry, maths, but they still gave me some grace marks and allowed me to clear through. Additionally, I was like a very, very irresponsible person. Like people who are like the closest to me, my family members, they pretty much called me Mr. Bean because of how forgetful and how irresponsible I actually was. Forgot to feed the cat, forgot to lock the door, left important documents at a different place. I was just completely living in my own world. So that was me in the past, but fast forward to today, who am I now today? I've been a software engineer at Fortune 500 companies like Dell Technologies and AMD. Additionally, I was one of the top performing students in my bachelor's program and my master's program in a really competitive specialization, which is computer engineering. I'm able to work like 5 to 7 hours a day, and during this time I'm like extremely focused and attentive. Like I can sit with a stopwatch for 5 to 7 hours and not lose focus, of course with breaks in the middle. So I hope this transformation lends some credibility to what I'm about to say next. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the tools, techniques, and the frameworks that allowed me to make this transformation, that allowed me to like really increase my attention span. And I promise I'm not going to bullshit you with some cute Pomodoro techniques or whatever nonsense that is going on the internet. But I am going to give you like truly transformative techniques which, I don't know, flipped my life around. But these steps are going to require you to make some big lifestyle changes, and they are going to require you to make like a lot of effort. So this is not for the faint-hearted or someone who just wants a quick fix. No, fixing your ADHD is not a quick fix. Increasing your attention span is not a quick fix. You need to make some major lifestyle changes, and if this causes you to click away from the video, so be it. But without further ado, let's get right into it. The biggest reason that why I was experiencing so much brain fog previously as a teenager and as a kid was because I was consuming garbage food. Like my image of food had always been like, this is just something that can either make you fat, or if you don't eat enough of it, it can make you thin. So I wasn't too concerned about eating processed shit. I was like, it's just bodily transformation. No. Damn, turns out that this food that I was consuming, it was actually making me dumber. It was actually causing inflammation in my head, and it was actually giving me brain fog. Like if you are someone who's consuming chips, burgers, Oreos, or anything which has like multiple ingredients, or anything that comes in a packet, your attention span is going to be impacted, and it's going to be a significant impact. As soon as I stopped consuming fast food, like as soon as I stopped consuming anything that comes in a packet, my attention span improved by like 50%. And not just that, my mood and motivation came back as well. Like I felt excited to do things that I previously found really boring. So the first thing that I highly recommend is that you cut off all processed garbage food, especially sugary processed carbs. Like these are poisonous. They actually cause your brain to be inflamed, and that's why you feel like a zombie, like you can't focus on anything. Have you ever had this feeling where you consume like a large carb-filled meal and then you felt drowsy and too tired? That is exactly what I'm talking about. That's like a carb crash. You need to avoid all sort of processed carbs. Like check this out, Google ketogenic diet or Google intermittent fasting. Start by adhering to these two dietary protocols. Either pick intermittent fasting or pick a ketogenic diet. And I promise you, like within 2 to 3 days, you will see a significant benefit in your attention span. Like first 2-3 days are going to be tough because you're going to be adapting and shit. But after that, you'll be like laser focused on things. The next reason why my attention span was so shitty was because I found everything boring. Like I found math boring. I found literally every subject boring, and I found reading boring because who wants to read just black and white text? And the reason why I found things boring was because I was constantly stimulating myself with high dopamine giving activities. Like I was constantly scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, and watching other forms of short form content, and this content is like 30 seconds long, and it's so stimulating. It's like you're watching the highlights of someone else's life, and you're doing it for hours and hours. Like you're bombarding your dopamine receptors with dopamine. Like think about this. Imagine playing video games for 3 or 4 hours at a stretch and then trying to read a book. How do you think that is going to go? The truth is, you're not going to read that book because you just experienced something that was so unimaginably rewarding that every other activity pales in comparison. And that is how I was like living my life pretty much, filling it with just instant gratification, fun after fun after fun, binge watching Game of Thrones, binge watching some anime series, playing video games, eating a lot of fast food, scrolling through social media. There was just so much dopamine in my system that it had desensitized me. I did not want to do anything that was even slightly less exciting than these activities. My bar for what I considered as fun and exciting has been lifted so damn high due to the way I was living my life. So what I did was I started eliminating all these activities. Started eliminating all the activities that gave me a burst of pleasure for no little effort. Anything that gives you a lot of pleasure for no effort, just know that it is bad. There's no such thing as unearned pleasure. You're actually robbing the future you of all this happiness and all this attention that you could have. So I would highly recommend that you make a list of all the behaviors that give you a lot of dopamine, a lot of pleasure, a lot of fun, and start eliminating them, start chipping away at them one by one. And then you're going to realize that, wow, you now have the motivation and you now have the will to actually do the things that you previously considered boring. The third thing that really helped me was waking up each day and just sitting at my desk and trying to focus at something. The first time I did this, I could only last like 10 to 20 minutes before I was like, fuck, my head is hurting, I need a break. And this is probably what's going to happen to you if you have like a really shitty attention span, but you need to do this every single morning. As soon as your day begins, get up. First thing you do is you try to focus at a task, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whether it's trying to solve a math question or something challenging and complicated. And you're going to realize that, okay, it's really uncomfortable at first, but eventually as the days pass, you're going to realize that this duration is going to increase. I started from like 20 minutes, but after repeating this behavior for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, I ended up with like 4 hours. I could now concentrate for 4 hours at a task. Of course, not at a single go, but with like 10 minutes of break after every 1 hour. But my overall ability to focus significantly increased because I was now training my brain to sit, get bored, feel uncomfortable, and gradually my tolerance started improving. And at first it's gonna suck. Like, I'm being completely honest with you. At first you're gonna be like, this is horrible. Like, your brain is gonna hurt, your head is gonna cramp or some shit, and you're gonna be so bored and you're just gonna feel so agitated. But try to focus, try to force yourself. I'm not saying like, hey, sit for like 1 hour on your first day. No, sit for as long as you can tolerate. And each day, try to push yourself just a bit more. Even 1% improvement every single day is great. Even improving by like 5 minutes every single day is great. In like a couple of weeks, you will be like at a really solid level. The last thing that really helped me increase my attention span and get rid of all these ADHD like symptoms was having a fixed sleep schedule. Like, I cannot stress enough how important a fixed sleep schedule is. Now, I'm not talking about just sleeping 8 hours a day, like you sleeping at 2 a.m. and just getting up at 10 a.m. and saying that, oh, I slept 8 hours, I'm perfectly fine. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You need to sleep at the same time every night, and you need to get up at the same time each morning. Else you're going to feel jet lag, brain fog, and you're not going to feel like focusing on tasks. And that is exactly what was happening to me. I had no sleep schedule, waking up at random times, going to bed at random times, and then having no mood, desire, or motivation to do the tasks at hand. And that was leading to my ADHD. Like, when you actually go to sleep, your body does a bunch of important tasks like releasing hormones, decluttering your mind. So if you're someone who's really struggling with ADHD, really struggling with a shortened attention span, and you just cannot get any work done, then make sure that you click on the link in the description and book a free one-on-one call with me.